We are back from a 2-week round-trip vacation through Scotland.
We saw 14 ancient castles, we went on boat rides, we went on the Harry Potter Hogwarts Express train, toured a historic soccer stadium, saw an aircraft carrier, and walked around historic cities and famous beaches.
We've broken this video into 4 parts with different geographical locations.
We're also going to include Google Map links so you can see all the places that we visited. Before we went on the trip, Simeon wanted to have the Scottish flag buzzed into the side of his head, so our barber did that for him. And even when we got to customs, they thought it was the greatest thing to see the Scottish flag on the side of Simeon's head.
Okay, on to part 1, the west coast of Scotland. For the first few days, we decided to stay about 40 or so miles from Glasgow because it was on the coast, significantly cheaper, and we were okay with driving a bit back to and around Glasgow for a few day trips, and went to a little seaside community on the Loch called the Cove, which is right next to Kilcregan, with a very cool Airbnb where I thought it would be a nice time to spend a few days resting from the travel and get used to the time change, which in retrospect was a great idea.
A wonderful idea.
Loch.
Oh yeah, look at that. The following day, we decided to take a walk to the beach and into the town of Kilcregan for lunch.
Okay, I have a very important question for you, Mom. Do you like my hairdo? I don't think it's true. I have to go to Crime Cliff.
We're gonna walk for a little bit.
They gotta be 200 years old.
And along the way, we met Jonathan and Fiona. Our kids met them because they ran into their yard. Jonathan was playing golf and they thought that was so interesting. And they just struck up a conversation with them. And Jonathan and Fiona, they were so sweet. They embraced the energy of our kiddos and they actually let them play golf in their front yard.
And then we got this amazing tip from Fiona that the new aircraft carrier, the HMS Queen Elizabeth, was just about 20 minutes down the road, docked at a jetty to refuel and rearm herself. So we made plans to go later that afternoon.
We had a fantastic lunch at a little family-owned pub in Kilcregan, and our kiddos were, the loudest ones in that little pub, and they were so kind to them. And when it was time to bring out dessert, they brought out all the toppings for them to choose from, and their kids were so excited about that.
And of course, it wouldn't be Scotland with...
We're getting caught up in some rain. So rain is coming around and... Hey, car ahead! To the side, buddy! There's not much room between you and the road on these small sidewalks, so my children who like to run fast, it's a little nerve-wracking.
By the time we got back to our Airbnb, it was time to start making our way
to find the HMS Queen Elizabeth. And I had to look up what jetty was. It's actually just a docking place for the aircraft carrier. So we went to the jetty. All right. Okay, I think we found it.
Yep. Yeah, we found it. Let's go.
It's right over there. That was amazing.
Yeah,
That's a very large aircraft carrier. We did not prepare for the amount of rain that we were going to experience.
Yes, we did. I think we didn't prepare for the amount of cool weather that we were going to experience in Scotland.
It was definitely cold that day. It eventually cleared up, but...
This is so crazy!
Lock it up.
We're going on the ferry now, but it's very cold right now.
But because it's going to rain the rest of the day,
The rest of the day
or the rest of the tour or whatever, they're putting us on another boat. We are the volunteers to go to the other boats. So we had the whole boat almost to ourselves, which was nice. And the people that were on the boat, a few England folk, we were able to meet on the deck and had some nice conversations.
Were they all English or were some of them Scottish?
No, they were all English. Yeah, from the southern part of England. I don't know why I remember that. Anyways, the weather cleared up a bit and it turned into actually a pretty nice day after that. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good second day, a rainy day, but a good second day in Scotland. And tomorrow we're going to go back to Glasgow because we're going to see 2 castles, a cathedral, and Costco. Okay.
So we drove from Loch back west to Glasgow and we stopped at Dumbarton Castle.
Oh, that's a ghost queen.
How many stairs we got to go, Sam?
500.
Well, how many stairs?
500.
This castle has over 661 steps. It's on the top of this mini mountain that overlooks the whole town. And so it's great for kids to climb all over the place. And they had some open green spaces at the top as well for them to run around in.
This is so cool. How many stairs are they? I don't know.
600 and... I know, save your energy. We got a few more stairs to
I'm
climb.
gonna throw these down.
Oh, we're not going to throw anything, remember? Probably the best part was running into an actor at the castle who was chilling in the courtyard. He had a sword and a mini keg and he talked to us all about the life in the castle and how they would even let children drink beer, which our kids thought was pretty cool.
Would get 2 litres of beer a day of wine.
Wow.
The children?
Yeah. Once you're over a year old, you get beer.
I crown you.
I was just going to say.
Knight.
So he's been in Lord of the Rings, I guess Game of Thrones. He's like an extra, so it's pretty cool. Really nice guy. Let the kids play with the sword. Hey everybody, all right, that castle is, as they say, done and dusted. Now we need to go to
Did you see the seagulls? There were a bunch of seagulls. Okay, there were a bunch of seagulls, and we just threw one piece of bread, and then they just swarmed around, and thousands of seagulls came. It was so funny.
From there, we headed back into the city to visit the Glasgow Cathedral. There are a few parking lots to choose from, so make sure you have an app or some spare change to pay for parking.
But we had to drive around a few times, so in one of the moments of confusion, I turned into the wrong lane. Fortunately, it wasn't a busy street because, yeah, that would have been pretty dangerous. I guess it was dangerous. Anyway, the lady who I passed on the wrong side of the street gave us a nice little look. And we occasionally receive some nice gestures from the Scottish people for when I turned into the wrong lane. After that, I literally, I was telling myself out loud, anytime I had to make a turn, I would say, turning left into the left lane, or turning right into the left lane. And that's a pro tip. If you're driving, just talk to yourself out loud as you're turning. Okay.
Anyway, back to the cathedral. The cathedral was awesome and is over 800 years old. The Glasgow Cathedral, also known as St. Mungo's Cathedral, is one of the few surviving medieval churches in Scotland that largely escaped destruction during the Reformation. It's a stunning example of Gothic architecture and dates back to the 12th century.
And there are several parts to it. It just keeps going on, and so we walked past tombs and then the inner sanctuary, and then there's these small chapels to the side, and there's even like another basement with more tombs.
Welcome back. But we're waiting for Eleanor and Vivian and Mom. They should be coming out. I have no idea. Wait, what is that sound?
We thought we'd squeeze in one more castle around Glasgow, so we headed to the Bothwell Castle. Let's see if they stay open for us just a little bit longer. Let's go! The Bothwell Castle is one of Scotland's largest and most impressive medieval fortresses, originally built in the 13th century to defend against English forces during the Wars of Scottish Independence.
But of course it was raining, but that didn't stop us from being the only visitors there and the kiddos running all over the place.
And then our final stop of the day, Costco.
Costco was great because we got some long pants because, again, we thought we were going to be swimming and it was just super cold. And after Costco, we headed to our new Airbnb, which was an apartment just south of Loch Lomond.
It's now August 9th. We are 4 days into Scotland and we are turning our car north. But we go north by going back east to Glasgow because we wanted to visit another castle, which was cut short because of easy. Okay, all right. Oh. Here we go. Come back this way.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay.
Rain.
But the real reason I wanted to go back to Glasgow was to visit
and to take a tour of the Celtic Stadium.
The Celtic Football Club was established in Glasgow, Scotland in 1887 with the aim of helping alleviate poverty in the Irish immigrant community. It has an amazing history and a lot of awesome trophies.
After Celtic FC, we turned on Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix because we had a 3-hour ride to head north to Fort Williamson and didn't know how to keep these kids busy or distracted. But Harry Potter, listening in the car, Jim Dale reading was perfect. They listened the entire time. And we ended up finishing Harry Potter on Order of the Phoenix that trip. It was perfect.
We went to Fort Williams and stayed 2 nights there because we wanted to take the
Harry Potter train.
also known as the Jacobite train.
It's not going to get any better than that.
Yeah.
No, holiday's over. I can go home.
You used to be able to ride in the original cars, the Hogwarts Express, but because the railway is owned by the United Kingdom, they won't let those train cars on the rail anymore because they are so old and not safe.
And that just started this year.
Yeah. So we rolled in the older cars with some kind of frustratingly foggy windows, but still, it was a steam engine and it was a really great experience. If you plan to go on this train, get your tickets way in advance because it fills up quickly. It's about an hour and 30 minutes each way for the train ride.
On the train ride, we sat next to this lovely couple, Simon, Marie, and their dog.
I quickly discovered that Simon is a steam train enthusiast, and so he was a wealth of knowledge. It was almost like having your own personal train historian on the car with you. So that was really nice. And
Besides the train being in the Harry Potter movies, there's also the Glenfinnan Viaduct that you go over, which was built between 1897 and 1901 and is a remarkable architectural feat. There are 21 arches on this railway bridge that are made from concrete, and it's over 1,000 feet long and 100 feet high.
It's coming to our north of it.
Everyone going crazy.
The railway connects Fort William to the town of Malig, about 40 miles away.
a couple of firsts for us here. The first time in Malig, the kids had fish and chips for the first time.
It's delicious. These are the fish. This is the fish. And this is the chips.
Well, anyways, we spent a few hours here in Malig walking around the town. There's this crazy Harry Potter store where the kiddos spent some time before heading home. I walked in for about 30 seconds and it was so packed, I decided to not go any further. And back in Fort Williams, we were getting hungry.
Now we have one disappointment. Simeon, you want to share?
No butter beer.
And here's a restaurant tip for those who are going to Scotland.
Restaurants here are a little different in that, they'll just put out signs say that we're full, but they may not be full. They just don't want you to hang around. So they'll just, but if you go in and wait and say, can I have that table? As soon as somebody leaves, they'll say, yep, you can have it. So you kind of have to advocate for yourself a whole lot more over here when it comes to restaurants.
But here was a really cool part. So we were really hungry and we went to this restaurant that we've been wanting to go to. The night before was closed because their chef was on vacation. But tonight they were open and they had the sign that they were all full. But when we walked in, the lady she was managing the restaurant, she's like, wait, aren't you? I know you guys. And I said, yes, we know you too. She was the housekeeper of the Airbnb that we were at. And so she recognized our family and she said, hold on a second, it's gonna be about 10 minutes and then we'll get something fixed up for you real quick. Which was amazing because we were so hungry and all the restaurants were full, so we didn't know where we were gonna go. So she was a lovely part of our Scotland story. The following morning, we went to church. Scotland is the birthplace of Presbyterianism, so we went to visit a congregation of the Free Church of Scotland, and it felt a little bit like home.
After church, we made our way up to Ugg of Portree, which is in the Isle of Skye.
The sun is out. We gotta take advantage of it, so I hope you enjoy the ride up. Let's go. We made to Ugg, to the furthest ends of Skye.
Yeah.
Since the first day was such a busy travel day, we just rested in Ugg. We had an amazing dinner of, again,
Fish and chips. I got fish and chips. Fish and chips.
and we were staying in a hostel.
Yeah, boutique hostel. Called
the Cowshed.
It was perched right on top of this hill that overlooked the cove and the ferry boat that would come in a couple times a day that would take people out even further to the Western Isles there.
And the second day, we did some exploring.
On our way to go hike at a waterfall, there was a German family that actually got a flat tire in the parking lot there. So they said, hey, can I... The guy was funny. He was like, I'm not trying to rob you. I remember that. He's like, I'm not trying to rob you, but there's a compressor in your car. Can I use it so I can like inflate our spare tire?
And that took longer than the hike because it was a small little hike.
Secret glens and storm-sculpted shore. Right there, Vince.
But then we went to a bigger hike, which was the highlight of the day, and we got to go to the fairy gardens.
Which, on the way...
You're going.
The fairy gardens are a pretty wide open space for the kids to run around in and climb. There are a bunch of small hills and sheep all around. And then there was this.
Okay, we're on a daring trip there.
Look what.
Look, and look where we have to go. Dawn. Hold on for Got it, bud?
Sideways.
What's up, people? We're back, and then we're somewhere else because we were up there, and now we're over here. Dad's just chilling right there, bossing the girls around. My mom found a big slug. Where? There is the slug. Slug, you're gonna be on YouTube, just so you know. Hit up that YouTube channel. How to take kids to Scotland Stutzmans. And we're up going to that hill. There's no way down, but up. And then you go back the way you came up.
We decided to drive a bit from Ugg to Dunvegan Castle.
Dunvegan Castle is the oldest continuously inhabited castle in Scotland, serving as the ancestral home of the Clan MacLeod for over 800 years.
The castle was cool, but the gardens were amazing. It's almost like an arboretum here in the United States. Now, another tip, when you go to Scotland, there's this thing called the Castle Pass, which gets you access to the majority of castles in Scotland. It's a great way to save a ton of money. But these private castles, especially in the Isle of Skye area, are not included in the Castle Pass. And some of these castles are actually private residences with private museums attached to them. So, you know, they're not the biggest fan of kids. This one was not a fan of kids.
Although they
don't
have
want
a
you touching
ton of
anything.
stuff for kids to do. And they advertise, and this castle in particular had a children's garden.
Which is fine. Anything inside the castle, the kids, they're like, don't touch the hair, don't touch anything.
Take your gum out of your mouth, that type of thing, which was fine, but it also was not communicated in the kindest ways, and our children were kind of confused. And then after that, they were like, another castle? We don't want to go to castles.
The gardens, however, were a great place to walk around with the kids and run around with them.
And like I said, they had a children's garden that we hung out for a while, and it was really delightful.
We went back to the boutique hostel to make some dinner and to see the kids' favorite housekeeper from Canada.
Hostel?
Hostel, I don't know, I made that up.
Something fun about this trip is that Brent got to teach Simeon a few new card games. So they played cards for a bit and hung out at the hostel.
There's also these wild chickens running around outside of the hostel, and the girls who went to a horse and farm camp this summer, they knew how to pick up chickens. And so they and some of the other kids that were staying there at the hostel, they went out and were chasing chickens and picking them up.
Mm-hmm. And fell in the poop.
Yeah.
Welcome back. We're leaving the tavern and or something. Dad, where are we going? Inverness. And it's going to be a great drive. It's 3 hours and like 49 minutes or something. And we're going to love it. Let's see. And let's party for 3 hours.
We had to travel back through the Isle of Skye to Inverness.
Google Maps gave us 2 different ways, and Brent decided to take the shortest route, which in hindsight was a little stressful because that meant taking several one-lane roads with these pull-offs every few hundred feet. Again, another time for us to have near chances with death. But before we got to Inverness, we went to a castle by Loch Ness called the
Castle.
What's the name of the castle?
I don't know.
Urquhart.
Urquhart.
Okay. It's a timed entry to get into the castle. So if you want parking near the castle, which I highly recommend you get, you do need to schedule this ahead of time. And this is also free with your castle pass.
The Urquhart Castle is situated on the shores of Loch Ness, offering stunning views of the famous lake known for the legend of the Loch Ness Monster.
The castle dates back to the 13th century and played a key role in the wars of Scottish independence before being destroyed in the late 17th century to prevent its use by the Jacobite forces.
The castle was a very fun and very full visit.
Yeah, and there's lots of places for the kids to run around. And of course it rained while we were there.
Turn around. Look what's coming. Look what's coming. It's our worst nightmare.
We're in the wind and we're in the rain. Do your worst.
Then we turned north to go to the city of Inverness.
All right, here we are. We are in Inverness in our Airbnb. Second floor apartment.
Hey, everybody.
Inverness is often considered the capital of the Scottish Highlands, serving as a cultural and economic hub for the region. There's a really cool castle there too, but it was under construction.
And if we were to do it again, we may have spent another day in Inverness. The city and the countryside were so beautiful.
We're back! And also I have one really crucial question. How do you like my hairdo today?
Out of the city, into the countryside.
Yeah, so we were on our way to the east coast to the town of Aberdeen. But first we stopped at
Fort George today, one of Europe's most outstanding fortifications.
Fort George was constructed in the 18th century following the Jacobite Rising of 1745, designed to secure the Highlands against future rebellions.
It's one of the most powerful fortifications in Europe, with an extensive system of defenses, including thick walls, bastions, and heavy artillery.
Fort George was one of my favorite spots to visit. I've never been to a fort like this before, and I enjoyed like the thoughtfulness of the placement of the fort and the design and the fortifications, all of it. So if you're a bit of a history buff, this is a great place to visit. And to its credit, it has stood the test of time. And it's also an active military base too.
Yeah, and they had great coffee.
So we spent a few hours enjoying Fort George and letting the kiddos run around before heading back to the east coast to the town of Aberdeen. And while we were there, I do want to note that we met another Presbyterian preacher, and he was a sweet old man. He was there with his grandkids, and it was really fun to see another Christian and meet another Christian in Scotland in the similar denomination. All right, now to the town of Aberdeen. Okay, we are heading into the fourth part of our trip, which is on the east coast, and we are headed to Aberdeen.
Aberdeen is often called the Granite City due to its many buildings constructed from locally quarried gray granite. These buildings give the city a distinctive sparkling appearance, especially in sunlight. But when it's cloudy, it's really depressing because everything is gray. Clouds are gray and the buildings are gray, not much color in the Granite City.
Aberdeen is a major center for the oil and gas industry, earning the nickname Oil Capital of Europe. And there are huge oil ships going in and out of the city all day long.
I thought the city would be really fun to visit, so I booked 2 nights here. But it rained a ton while we were there, and it was really kind of depressing. It kind of reminded me of Gary, Indiana.
Well, I mean...
But the food was amazing, actually.
The food was really good. But other local people around Scotland, when we told them we were going to Aberdeen, they're like, really? You're gonna go to Aberdeen? So, but if you do, there's a really great place for dinner. It's called Blackfriars. There's live music, and so we went there with our kids. So if you find yourself in Aberdeen, there is a children's museum. It's pretty new. And we spent several hours there because it was raining.
It was raining, yeah.
But the rain did clear up, and then that's when we were able to go to the beach. And of course, classic Stutzman vacation.
We have no towels, like we forgot. Again, to do the normal parenting thing, like bring a towel to the beach. Here we go. We are leaving Aberdeen and headed to St. Andrews.
For the final leg of the trip, we started to head south to Edinburgh, not without stopping first in St. Andrews to see the old golf course. And boy, it was our lucky day because the AIG Women's Open was kicking off. However, we did find one parking spot at the right moment in time in front of St. Andrews Castle.
The St. Andrews Castle is perched on a rocky promontory overlooking the North Sea.
The castle played a key role during the Scottish Reformation, of which John Knox, the father of Presbyterianism, took part in before he was sold as a slave to the French gallows. The castle's siege in 1546 saw the use of mine and countermining tunnels.
All right, this is a very secret mine that is going down into the depths of the deep. This is amazing!
So the kids and I went into these very tight, small, claustrophobic tunnels where you can't even really bring a book bag in.
And Brent didn't want to leave St. Andrews before he visited its famous beach, the beach where the movie Chariots of Fire was filmed.
St. Andrew's course. Here we go, we found it. No way those guys are finding those balls.
Well, before we headed to Queensferry from St. Andrews, we decided to swing by Stirling Castle.
Stirling Castle was one of the most important residences of the Scottish monarchy, serving as the home of several kings and queens. The castle's strategic location was atop a volcanic mountain, which made it a key defensive stronghold, controlling access to the highlands and lowlands.
And our kids really loved it too, because it was right at closing time. And so they were just dancing throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and they had a lot of interactive things. It was a really family-friendly castle.
Yeah.
Then we finally arrived in Queensferry in our really cool Airbnb. It was a tiny home behind a dead-end, one-way road on the back of a lot of a house.
Yeah, another one-way street.
But I picked it because the views that they boasted were amazing, and they truly were.
Yeah. Queensferry is located near Edinburg, historically served as the key ferry crossing point between Edinburgh and the Fife, dating back to the 11th century.
The town is known for its proximity to 3 iconic bridges that span the Firth of Forth. I chose this town because it was close to Edinburgh, but half the price of staying in Edinburgh proper, because there was a lot of festivals that were going on in Edinburgh at the time. Parking in Edinburgh is terrible, so with a rented car, staying outside of the city worked best for us. Our Airbnb was within walking distance to the train station.
I'm gonna take a shower now. I'm gonna take a shower now.
And we were able to download an app really easily, buy tickets to the train, and get into the city really, really quickly.
Which worked out. Almost.
And we're gonna take the train to Edinburgh, and I took a wrong turn on the path. But we found another path to get us to the train. Hope we make it on time.
I love you, Daddy.
What a trooper. What a trooper.
It worked out fine. Brent just is a control freak.
Edinburgh is wild during the month of August because of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. It's this, well, according to them, it's the world's largest arts festival held annually in Edinburgh every August for the whole month, and it began back in 1947 and has since grown into this vibrant celebration of the performance arts. The Fringe Fest is an open access festival, meaning that anyone can participate without needing to be invited, which results in like this really diverse range of shows, like theater, comedy, dance, music, spoken word performances. They have it all. So yeah, it's a bit of a free for all with the street performers. They just set up and they just start performing.
Or they don't set up, they just start performing in the middle of the street.
So we went on Saturday and it was nuts. Like, we almost lost Simeon twice that day. So if you bring in your kids, just hold on to their hands like the whole time. But one of those times that we lost him briefly was we ended up finding him in the middle of a performance.
Yeah, he joined in, you know, he was just like, Mom and Dad, I'm gonna be part of the Fringe.
You're American. Get off. No, come back. He's American. I'm American too. Is that it, kid? Everybody.
While we were there, we got to walk through St. Giles Cathedral. St. Giles Cathedral is a central place of worship and has been for over 900 years. It's played a significant role in the Reformation and is often considered the mother church of Presbyterianism, and it's located on the Royal Mile.
So after the cathedral visit, we kept going up the hill to the famous Edinburgh Castle. It's a timed entry, so get your tickets ahead of time, and I'm really glad you did, Susan, because they were all sold out that day. So we had timed tickets to the castle, and we got to see the crown jewels and wait in line while it rained a little bit, and then it cleared up again.
We got to see a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And then after the castle, we went to the famous Victoria Street.
And Victoria Street is one of Edinburgh's most picturesque streets, known for its colorful, curved row of buildings, which housed unique shops, cafes, and restaurants.
The street is also said to have inspired the Diagon Alley in the Harry Potter series.
The Elephant Hotel, where it's said to have been J.K. Rowling finished the last Harry Potter book. It was a beautiful day, lots of sunshine, and we came home with all of our children.
Back in Dalmeny. We made it.
All right, see ya.
Now, the following day, we spent the whole day in Queensferry recovering from that trip.
Now what we're doing this morning is we're going to take a boat ride. It's going to take us to the middle of an island. And we're going to have lunch out there.
And there's a man that lives there, and he's the only person that lives there, and he takes care of the island. So.
We got to visit the Inchcolm Abbey. It's located on the Inchcolm Island of the Firth of Forth and is one of the best preserved monastic buildings in Scotland. It was founded in the 12th century by King David I and is an Augustinian abbey.
And
They woke up, they're like Sarah, they're like our neighbor Sarah. They woke up at 2:30 in the morning to pray, and then they would go to bed at 6:30.
Wow.
It reminded me of her.
Yeah.
Dad!
Okay.
Come on! Just keep going up without
This is very...
Hot, 2, 3, 4. Hot, 2, 3, 4. Keep going up.
Okay. They were a lot thinner back then.
Hot, 2, 3,
Oh my goodness, there's another.
Oh, this is
Hot, 2, 4. Hot, 2,
Oh, hey.
That's how you can leave it.
How many more steps are there?
Just a few more. It's gonna get a little dark, but everything's guys. 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3.
These steps are so tiny. Oh,
I told you it was a death trap.
These aren't the stairs of death.
The stairs.
Oh. Please descend stairs safely.
These are the stairs of death.
Oh wow.
Come on, Dad.
and we also got to play with a seal.
I wonder.
Because they have razor sharp teeth, actually.
Dude, that was so freaky. He like, oh.
Oh, it's right there. Oh, it's right there.
Right, so the seals were coming up and it would pop its head up, and so that was a lot of fun. And I love that we ended our time in Scotland and Queensferry. It's this beautiful, quaint, quiet little town. There's stuff for kids to do. There's a little beach there. You could go on those boat tours, walking, hiking. There's a little grocery store. It's all right there. Really good food too.
All right.
Hey, everybody.
On the last day in Scotland, and we're gonna go to our favorite bakery here.
Also, shout out to the Dune Bakery. It was a new bakery. It was just there for a few months, and it had a ton of vegan pastries, so Susan and we can all eat it. And it always had a line out the door. I mean, this place was jam-packed. They were serving coffee and the pastries, and it was just buzzing. And they were super kind to our kiddos too, who were just so excited to eat sugar.
The next morning, we got up, got ready. We headed back to Glasgow and returned the rental car, got safely.
They did not reject the rental car. I didn't have to pay for anything. We returned it in one piece.
It was a lovely travel back. Not even 12 hours later, our kids were at school.
3 quick tips for when you go to Scotland. All right, first, if you're renting a car, get international car insurance ahead of time. Otherwise, you'll have to pay through it through the rental car company's business, which is going to be more expensive. The second thing you want to do is to get directions to a cell phone company like Vodafone or something. If you don't have international data on the phone, and I recommend you do it ahead of time, at least find a Vodafone or get a SIM card so you can drive around Scotland. This was probably the most stressful thing on the very first day of travel. I did not prepare ahead of time. The third tip is find a grocery store like Costco. They have one in Glasgow, and get some food ahead of time and get some food for your trip. All right, so we hope you enjoyed the video taking kids to Scotland. Let us know in the comments below if you have any questions or any other kind remarks. All right, we'll see you in the next video.